Mr. Morris, you're here because you say certain facts have come to light and make you believe that you fathered one of Miss Thorpe's twins and not the other. You claim a botched home DNA test separated you from your daughter, London, and you intend to rectify that issue today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Morris, a confused parent, approaches the court claiming he fathered one of Miss Thorpe's twins based on a botched home DNA test. Miss Thorpe finds his assertion ridiculous and is prepared to prove he's the father of both. This is one crazy case, so hold on tight.
Originally, I was believed that both of them was mine. Over time, certain circumstances made me feel like neither were mine. And then after that, different things happened that made me believe just London was.
All right. First, he believed the twins were his until certain circumstances made him suspicious. Then, different things led him to conclude he was only responsible for London, not Paris. Not just fraternal twins, but two different fathers? That's a whole new dimension. Are we dealing with facts or just lies? The confusion and uncertainty Mr. Morris is experiencing here highlight how easily relationships can spiral into misunderstandings, mistrust, and even separation. Have you ever caught yourself questioning your partner's honesty or feeling like your relationship is falling apart? Don't make the mistake of ignoring these signs. Take it from the many couples who've successfully used Mend the Marriage by Brad Browning. This acclaimed program provides clear strategies to immediately rebuild trust, resolve conflicts, and bring genuine happiness back into your relationship. Instead of waiting for things to worsen, scan the QR code displayed on your screen or click the link in the description. Your relationship deserves clarity and peace. Don't leave your love to chance.
I was seeing another guy at the time that me and Antoine was talking, but the time matched up to Antoine being the father of both of my kids. Before anything, we were friends, so I don't even understand why he's even putting me through this. I told Antoine that I wanted to be in a relationship with him, and he turned me down because he was still in love with the mother of his other child.
Ooh, Ms. Thorpe's dirty little secrets are coming to light now. And who told you it was okay to get revenge on one guy with another guy? That's ridiculous. So she got upset that Morris was still in love with his ex, and she presumed it was best to start messing with another guy while still intimate with Mr. Morris? Bravo!
I went all out. I bought two of everything. It cost a lot. It was bassinets here, strollers there, car seats. Moved her into a family member house during her pregnancy. Try to make her as comfortable as possible. She hungry every day. I gotta feed her.
That's the least you could do.
Mr. Morris seems to be born ready for this baby daddy role. From pregnancy to childbirth, he was supportive and provided all the basics just as feeding her. He bought all the baby things in twos and moved her to a family member's house even? Wow. So what could have gone wrong?
I didn't doubt him, not one bit, but I went back to the house without Imani's knowledge. Inside the test, it was a thing where you get 3 samples, one for the father, one for the child, and one for the child's mother. But of course, she didn't know, so I swabbed myself, Paris, and then I used the one for the mother on the other child.
Your Honor, he told me he don't even know which child he swabbed.
If you had no doubts at all, a DNA test kit should be the least interesting item on that drugstore shelf. So he went on with the testing at home, and now he has no idea which child sample he got. Brilliant. Wait, the DNA Kits Bureau told him the tests weren't totally wrong. Otherwise, it would have returned NA. But how reliable are these kits?
All right, so now you got it all over social media that these aren't my babies. I've done a DNA test and these aren't my babies, and you lying. That's basically what he's saying.
Yes, Your Honor.
When I called and said the results, I got a response that was like she knew. She had just said, when I said, I got a test done on the twins, they are not mine. And her response was, oh.
Whoa. Mr. Morris is not only a secret agent, but a publicity chief, going all over social media to discuss paternity issues. How responsible. On telling Ms. Thorpe, she responded, "Oh, and that was enough to spark the flare? Give me a break. She was at work at the time. How could she have engaged in such a serious topic? You know, Judge, he's a drama king. So dramatic."
Leave and don't come back for almost 18 months.
Yes, ma'am.
What makes you get back in touch with Ms. Thorpe?
Honestly, was asking around about how they was doing or what they was looking like. Family members and friends started to say, "You sure they're not yours?" And I had got sent a picture of my youngest daughter now, and it was side by side with London. I feel like they look just alike. They the same age.
Indecisively, he left for almost 18 months, only to start building back broken bridges as soon as his family and friends began suggesting his possible relatedness to one of the twins who looked just like his other daughter from another woman. Wonderful. He got 2 women pregnant at the same time.
You done gone through all this only for the children to now call you Uncle Twan?
I didn't tell him to.
Oh, you told him to, Miss Thorpe?
No, Your Honor. They just developed that because he's been around since day one. So with him being around so much, they asked was Twan their dad, but I told him no.
Impossible! Did Mr. Morris endure all that drama for just the title Uncle Twan? Ms. Thorpe shares the blame. Why tell the kids he isn't their dad and let them call him Uncle while in court trying to prove he is their biological father? This is a messed up situation. The kids are mature enough to ask about their father, yet the adults are failing them.
You aren't sure.
I mean, at the time, I didn't feel like I was sure, so I didn't want to have them call. And then he wasn't even around.
So wait a minute, who else could be their dad?
The other guy that I was talking
So you really don't know if he's the dad or not?
I feel like he is.
Oh, Lord. A feeling, a feeling, a feeling. We're not talking about feeling.
Let me get this straight. Ms. Thorpe told the girls that he wasn't their daddy because she wasn't sure at the moment who their biological father was, either Mr. Morris or the other dude she had a thing with. Ma'am, are you even certain about why you are in the courtroom? Because she sounds so unsure of every other thing. Let's have the results, please.
The next result is for London. It has been determined by this court. Mr. Morris, you are not the father. Ms. Thorpe, somewhere inside of you, you knew this was a very real possibility. I can see your reaction. Ms. Lusk, you and your mother say you have no doubt whatsoever when it comes to knowing who your 3-year-old daughter, Samari's biological father is.
Yes, Your Honor.
Unfortunately, the man you claim is her father has died, and now you find yourself facing off against his mother, who is just as convinced that she is not your daughter's grandmother.
Ms. Lusk, a young single mom, shows up in court with her own mother, hoping to confirm who the father of her 3-year-old daughter is. Meanwhile, Ms. Page, whose son has passed away, is shocked at the idea that he could be the father. He was in a committed relationship after all. This case is about to get really messy.
For you and your daughter.
It's been more than extremely difficult being pregnant at 16, having to still go through school. These past 4 years, everything has been on me and my mother, and I feel it's completely unfair because he has a whole other side. She has a whole other side to her family.
So, she was pregnant at 16? That's tough. Poor little Samari came into the world under some really difficult circumstances, but was the baby's father even aware of what was going on? And Ms. Page, we get it. You're trying to act like single parenting is no big deal, but when you say everybody's a single parent, like it's some hobby, that's just not it.
Job. I have 2 jobs.
Let's get to
I have
order.
2 jobs. Going back to college in August. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. But you should be on my side if anybody because you've been there.
Miss
My daughter's
Lusk,
beautiful.
Miss Lusk, calm down.
Wait a second, did she just say she's working 2 jobs and planning to go back to college in August? That's impressive, but Ms. Page doesn't seem to care much. She doesn't even understand why this paternity test matters. Oh, and there's an insurance policy in the mix now? Yep, you guessed it. Things are about to spiral even more.
And so this insurance policy is in the amount of $50,000 you submitted that paperwork to the court. It is your testimony today that Ms. Lusk is attempting to get a portion of that money.
Here we go. There's a $50,000 life insurance policy on the table, and now Ms. Page's attitude makes a little more sense. She's trying to protect something, but Ms. Lusk claims she and Ms. Page knew each other. In fact, she once interrupted an intimate moment between her and Desmond. So, who's really telling the truth here?
When you proclaimed you were pregnant, you was very petite, no stomach, looking like an innocent child.
Yes,
You
ma'am. He
asked
said
for
the
Go
same
to the
way I
school
look
to
now.
see my child. You asked to go to the school. Of course she wasn't showing. She was just pregnant.
You went to see Ms. Lusk at school?
Yes, I
Yes,
gave
I
her
went to see her
permission.
at school
They
to
had
talk
to
to her
call
and
an
to
accident.
find out what was going on. She didn't look pregnant. She was holding her head down. She had no stomach whatsoever.
But at the same time, this was my first time meeting you, Miss Page.
And the tea just keeps brewing. Ms. Page says she heard about the pregnancy early on, so let's skip the debate over belly sizes. The girl was only 16, and that comment, "you look like his type," sounds like she wasn't exactly in denial back then. But now she wants to act like her son was in some perfect relationship? Please.
How How do you know what happened?
I contacted Miss Page through Facebook to tell her to call me. She called me, and that's when I broke the news to her about my daughter being pregnant by her son.
Okay, and so you had a conversation, and during that conversation, what was said?
Then Ms. Anderson, another mom, messages Ms. Page on Facebook to talk about the pregnancy. Moms really are running the show here. But Ms. Page's reply, "My son is a legend." Seriously? She knew about his shady behavior and still acts like it's something to be proud of. That's not cool. That's just delusional.
Make sure you find your baby's daddy. And she's publicly putting it on Facebook. My
Also to
child's
the
name.
point where I can't defend myself because she'll have me blocked or she'll have it where I can't post comments. And I don't slander her on my Facebook. Not once have I ever said anything bad about this woman.
Miss Page, are you posting things about Miss Lusk, this young girl, on Facebook?
Okay, now it's getting ridiculous. Ms. Page went and dragged this whole situation onto Facebook, saying all kinds of wild stuff. If this were a defamation case, she'd be guilty without question. Meanwhile, the young mom has kept it classy, and all this drama over a used walker, either she offered it or she didn't. Let's move on already.
Desmond's last name.
Without my permission.
We don't need your permission. It was permission when I laid down and was intimate with him.
No,
that's
it's not,
permission.
it's not been
That's
proven.
permission.
It's not been proven.
But it will be today.
You're not
but it
his
will be
wife.
today. You're
not his
absolutely
wife.
correct. I don't have to be, and you're not either. You wasn't in the room, Miss
I'm
Page.
his mother.
Okay, and I'm his baby mother.
Now this is wild. Ms. Page refused to let the baby have her last name, but Ms. Lusk named her daughter Page anyway, because she says she slept with Desmond and that gave her the right. Seriously? That's your logic? And Ms. Page has been sharing everything about the baby, even sightings at parties, all over Facebook. She's living for the drama.
Were you aware that he was in a relationship with Miss Lusk? Were you aware he may have had a child?
I have asked everybody. Nobody even know of Miss Lusk. Nobody.
Now, Miss Lusk, I want to ask you respectfully, were you aware that Desmond was in another relationship with someone else?
No, Your Honor, I didn't find out until the day of and the day after his passing.
Turns out Desmond had quite the messy past, and this situation is one big fallout from it. Ms. Page had no clue Ms. Lusk was even involved with her son, and Ms. Lusk, she didn't know about his so-called serious relationship until after he passed. The worst part? She found out she was pregnant just 4 days after he died. Somebody hand this girl a tissue.
I know this is not really what you want to do, and I know your anger and your frustration is coming from this place of grief. But when I ask you if this is your son's daughter, do you want to have a relationship? And you say, I don't know because I don't know if I can take the drama.
And the drama doesn't stop. Even after everything's been said, Ms. Page still refuses to accept that the child might be her granddaughter. You'd think the emotional roller coaster would make her soften up a little, but nope, she's holding her ground. She talks about drama, but let's be honest, she's been the main one stirring the pot. Now it is time to reveal the results.
In the case of Lusk versus Page, when it comes to 3-year-old Samari Page, the probability of relatedness between Miss Page and Samari Page is 99.96%.
4 years.
Yeah,
4 years, and I never asked nothing
4
of
years,
you. I never asked
my son
nothing
been
of
deceased.
you.
You're supposed to do what you got to do as a mother.
Stop
absolutely correct,
arguing.
and I have.
Ladies, both of you all are in so much pain.
Mr. Matlock,
Yes, ma'am.
you say that a few years back you were suddenly called away on family business. You claim that invited her former lover to move into your family home.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Matlock just found out something major. While he was away, his girlfriend Ms. Monroe invited her ex over to their home. Not cool. But that's not even the wildest part. She also drops the bomb that she's pregnant, and she's not sure who the father is. According to Ms. Monroe, she thought their relationship was over since he hadn't contacted her in over a month. Honestly, things are already looking messy, and we're just getting started.
Father of Ms. Monroe's
Well,
child.
Your Honor, back in 2006, when me and Miss Monroe first got together, she knew I was backing because I have a son down in that area. Back in 07, I was down there. You're
You were
lying.
gone a
It
month.
was a week.
You were gone a month.
Anyway, Your Honor,
You were gone a month.
when I was gone into our home.
So, Ms. Monroe was well aware that Mr. Matlock had a son with another woman and was traveling for a valid reason. But here's her problem. He told her he'd be gone for just the weekend, and instead, he stayed away for an entire month. That's a big difference. In the meantime, she invited her ex-boyfriend to stay over. That's some sneaky business. Now it's turning into a he said, she said situation. Someone isn't being completely honest, and we're trying to figure out who it is.
Ms. Monroe, when he went out of town, did he voluntarily call you at all?
Maybe.
Not one call.
Maybe 2 or 3 times, like.
So 2 or 3 times, but when you called him, he didn't return your call.
He would not answer my calls.
And the tea keeps spilling. While Mr. Matlock was away, their communication fell apart. Ms. Monroe says he completely disappeared. She couldn't get in touch with him at all, though he claims he called a few times. She insists those calls didn't count since he didn't return hers. So what did she do? She assumed the relationship was over and invited one of her exes over. Seriously? That's her solution? Her nerves must be made of steel.
I had feeling for her. I've been knowing her since we was young. So I felt something about her. Worked out the whole situation. We talked about it, we worked it out. I eventually moved back in the house, picking up a sexual relationship with her again.
All right.
About a month and a half, I get a phone call from my sister.
Despite everything, Mr. Matlock admits he still had feelings for Ms. Monroe. Oh, right? The two got back together and started being intimate again. But then, a month later, boom, she tells his sister she's pregnant. When Mr. Matlock tries to talk to her about whether the baby is his, she flat out says, no, it's not. Can you imagine how confusing and heartbreaking that must have been? This relationship is a whole roller coaster.
She looked just like my other one. So her and my other child looked exactly alike.
She's a pretty little girl. I'm not saying
Beautiful
at the
little
same
girl.
time, I don't think it's my baby.
Now here's the kicker. Ms. Monroe herself didn't know who the father was, and apparently the baby looked nothing like Mr. Matlock. So why is everyone even in paternity court? To make it more chaotic, Mr. Matlock starts throwing out names like Jerome, suggesting he might be the father. At this point, it's hard to keep up. This whole case is one big circus.
Matter of fact, when the baby was born, another man was in the hospital room with her. I was back in town taking care of my son doing.
Let's talk about the birth. Mr. Matlock wasn't even at the hospital when the baby was born. Another man was there instead. Yikes. Now, Ms. Monroe is upset because she didn't make it clear that Mr. Matlock could possibly be the father. Well, yeah, maybe you should have said, hey, you might be the dad, before leaving him completely out of the loop.
You are paying child support for Ms. Monroe's daughter.
Yes, ma'am. And to top that off,
You're paying
on
because you sent me
on Facebook,
information.
the other father in question inboxed me, so I called you the father now. I said, yeah, I thought you was the father.
Despite all the drama, Mr. Matlock is paying child support. So credit where it's due, he's stepping up. But behind the scenes, there's some serious tea brewing. He and another possible dad have been messaging back and forth trying to figure out who the real father is. And guess what? There's a third guy being mentioned, Ms. Monroe's current boyfriend. This is turning into an episode of Maury real fast.
Okay.
Because he sent me papers so
No,
he could get it.
We
Yes,
want to get a
yes,
DNA test
shut
done
up.
because
No,
she didn't want to
that's
get
not
the
what
DNA.
happened.
It's been 3 or 4 years.
Turns out Mr. Matlock only started paying child support because he needed leverage to get a paternity test done. But when a court date was set, without his knowledge, he missed it. And just like that, the law automatically listed him as the legal father. Wait, what? That's how that works? He didn't even get a chance to defend himself? That's a nightmare.
When my wife found out that they had taken child support out for a baby,
She didn't worry about her own business.
we got into it. Reason to be mad in the first place because the baby came.
Now things are really falling apart. Mr. Matlock's wife is upset because he's spending money on a child who might not even be his, while his actual kids are being affected. It's causing fights at home, and on top of that, he's already been in jail once over these paternity issues. Now there's another lawsuit hanging over his head. This man cannot catch a break.
But you still don't know if he's in fact the father of your child. You don't really know.
And on top of that, that baby mine. Nobody. Even her cousin don't believe it.
And Ms. Monroe, she's still collecting child support from Mr. Matlock, even though nobody knows for sure who the real father is. Meanwhile, his sister is here at court supporting him. But let's be real, she needs to chill a bit. She's been throwing shade, but let's not forget she attended the baby's birthday party. And now she claims she was blocked from seeing the child? That's suspicious. Let's just get to the DNA results already and end this drama.
Mr. Matlock, the wait is over. You are not
I knew it. I wants my money back. I wants my money back. I told you it from the beginning. Trifling.
Bosley, you and your son have petitioned the court for a DNA test because you are certain he did not father the defendant's 3-month-old son, Maverick, and there are 2 other possible fathers.
Mr. Bosley and his mother are in court, pushing to have his name removed from baby Maverick's birth certificate. His mom chalks the whole thing up to a young and dumb mistake. But was it really that simple? Did he sign that paper without knowing the full story? And just when you think it couldn't get messier, Ms. Jackson admits she stepped out on him. Despite that, she's completely sure that Maverick is his. So, what's really going on here? A simple lapse in judgment or a deeply buried truth? The paternity mystery just got turned all the way up.
In the beginning, we were working together, and he was starting off like, "Oh, I love you. Do you believe in love at first sight?" And then the next day we was talking, and then we had sex. And then he was talking about, the kids and all of that. And then I asked for a break.
It started off innocent enough, 2 coworkers having casual conversations. Then Mr. Bosley starts laying on the sweet talk, telling Ms. Jackson all about his dreams of having children. Next thing you know, the 2 of them are sharing more than just small talk. But hold on, if you already suspected he wasn't being honest, Ms. Jackson, why move forward with that kind of closeness?
I mean, we was at the house chilling, relaxing, and she basically came from out of nowhere. A dude, one of her ex-boyfriends.
Wait a minute. So while she was still just talking to Mr. Bosley, Ms. Jackson met up with her ex in his car, and Mr. Bosley had to watch this whole thing unfold from the window like it was a bad movie. They weren't exclusive yet, true, but that meeting escalated into something way beyond a friendly catch-up. When a conversation turns physically intimate, that changes everything. This isn't just messy, it's chaos with a seatbelt.
I found out she was pregnant at maybe about 4 months, maybe. And I told my son immediately, "That's not your baby. Like, you've been with her not even long enough."
So, Ms. Jackson, when you found out you were pregnant, you told Mr. Bosley?
Yes.
As soon as Ms. Bosley found out about the pregnancy, her motherly instincts kicked in. But with Ms. Jackson already 4 months along, she had questions, like how her son could be the father when they'd only just started getting close. Mr. Bosley may have sounded excited when he first heard, but it wasn't about the baby, more like confusion wrapped in obligation. And just when you think it's over, Ms. Jackson admits to being involved with 2 more men from the same workplace. This isn't just messy, it's a full-blown HR nightmare.
There should be no young woman out here sleeping with 3 men at her job. And that's why I'm like, what's going on here?
I feel like, Your Honor, it goes a bit deeper than that. Because you
it's
just
deep.
don't
No,
have
it's
women
deeper.
out here sleeping with men on their jobs. Like, something is a bit deeper than
Oh,
that. I don't know what it is.
Oh, no.
I don't know.
It does
On both
go
ends.
deeper. It does go deeper than that.
Engaging in intimate encounters across your workplace, that's not just risky, that's playing with fire in a room full of gasoline. Ms. Jackson's choices, made without clearly defining her relationships, have led to an enormous tangle. Now that a child is involved, the question of who the father really is has no clear answer. And it's not just about feelings anymore. This is about a little boy's future.
You need to understand this, Ms. Jackson. This is about the fact that your child's paternity is in question. If you have slept with 2 coworkers, given oral sex to 1, while you supposedly getting to know Mr. Bosley, no, it's not so far-fetched that people would also assume that you may have slept with that person or maybe even another person.
Ms. Jackson seems to be missing the seriousness of the situation. Being physically involved with multiple partners in the same time frame makes the paternity of her child even harder to determine. And no, it's not about one isolated moment of intimacy, it's the pattern. How can anyone believe her fully when even Mr. Bosley has his doubts? The uncertainty is overwhelming.
I don't want my son to grow up like that without his dad in the picture, because I know how it feels, and I have my daddy issues, and growing up is hard.
I understand what you're saying. The way you feel about that, your actions are a reflection of the fact that you don't feel worthy.
It's starting to feel like therapy for Ms. Jackson. She opens up about growing up without her own father and the emotional scars that were left. But here's the hard question. If you knew how painful that was, why walk down the same road again? These careless romantic entanglements don't just affect her. They could deeply shape Maverick's entire life. This isn't just about breaking cycles. It's about choosing not to repeat them.
Mr. Green, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to ask you, what's your relationship with Ms. Jackson?
We met through a friend, and then we started talking through social media.
All right, so was Ms. Jackson interested in a sexual relationship with you?
Yes, Your Honor, she was trying to have sex.
Now we've got Mr. Green, the second possible father, in the courtroom, and things are heating up even more. Ms. Jackson admits she had always wanted a closer kind of relationship with him too. At this point, it's understandable why all the men involved are saying, I don't know if I'm the father. They may be different people, but they all share one goal, finding out the truth, finally.
If he minds, then we can move on. But if he's not minds, I'm gone. It's just simple.
What are your hopes, Ms. Jackson? What are you hoping for? I know you want to break the cycle for your beautiful son.
I want him to step up. Walking in the house and going back out, that's not enough time because it feels like that's what happened to me.
Your Honor.
The stakes couldn't be higher. Mr. Bosley has made it clear that whatever the test result says will determine his next move. Meanwhile, Ms. Jackson seems confident he's the father and just hoped he'd rise to the occasion. Surprisingly, Ms. Bosley, his mom, is taking the most balanced view here. She's not defending her son's questionable choices, but she's also willing to support Ms. Jackson if Maverick turns out to be her grandson. Well, it is time to check out the results.
The biological father is Mr. Bosley. Ms. Sales, you claim that you and the defendant, Mr. Jackson, were in a serious relationship and it was his idea to have a baby. But now that your 3-year-old daughter, Micaiah, is here, he denies being her father. You want him to step up and take care of his daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Sales claims she was in a committed relationship with Mr. Jackson, and during that time, he thought it was the perfect moment to start a family. Just like that, a baby? Now, he's flipping the script and denying the child altogether. Mr. Jackson paints her as nothing more than a former side chick, trying to use the baby as a ticket back into his life. That's not just messy, that's a whole soap opera.
Because I was with D'Amico for 5 years. We were in a relationship, we had our baby, and now because he sits up and talks to his family, now he feels like that is not his child.
Hold up, they were involved for 5 years, a whole half-decade. But now that there's a child involved, he's denying paternity just because the baby came out light-skinned with gray eyes? That's your reason? Ms. Sales describes their bond as a relationship, but Mr. Jackson insists she was simply his side woman, someone he kept around for late-night companionship. For 5 years? If it was nothing serious, what exactly were you two doing all that time?
Maybe even though she might have been your side woman, I mean, none of that prevents you from becoming a father.
Yes, but I wasn't the only man that was smashing it.
He's lying. He was the only person that I was messing with, the only person I had been with for a year before I even got pregnant. So again, he's lying.
Just because she wasn't the main partner doesn't mean she wasn't capable of conceiving. Biology doesn't care about titles. He accuses her of seeing other people, but Ms. Sales says Mr. Jackson was the only man she was involved with in that way. When she left town and they lost touch, he jumped into something new and conveniently failed to mention it when she came back. Then months into their rekindled bond, the truth came out. He's juggling hearts like a pro.
She had a situation with her urine, stuff like that, a problem.
So you went to the hospital for something else?
Yes, ma'am.
I went to the doctor because I had a cyst ruptured in my stomach, so I had to go to the hospital because I was very sick. He went with me, but he was my side piece, right? But he took me and went with me to the hospital. So I was getting a lot of tests ran and things done to me. They was telling me no, I wasn't pregnant at the time.
When Ms. Sales started experiencing health complications, including a ruptured cyst and later polyps, Mr. Jackson was right by her side, attentive and caring. And even in the middle of hospital visits, their connection turned intimate. Yes, they were trying to conceive on a hospital bed. Now that is some serious dedication to baby making, romance, resilience, or recklessness. You decide.
On the regular, so of course it wasn't that hard for me to conceive within the next week or two by him.
So yeah, Mr. Jackson, it sounds like you all were side woman, main woman, whatever it was to you, it sounds like you all were having a lot of sex.
Yeah.
And so if you were having that much sex,
it was good.
So listen, I'm not asking about the quality.
Their determination to have a baby, no matter the setting, finally paid off. But let's be honest, being physically involved during hospital visits takes things to another level. They had a consistently close relationship, no doubt about that. So let's not get into how amazing it was, Mr. Jackson. We're in court, not a confessional. If you were both sharing that kind of intimacy that often, then yes, it makes total sense that you could be the father. The math adds up.
Oh, so you saw an exchange of messages.
Yes, ma'am.
Talking about the pregnancy.
All that.
And the paternity.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when you saw that, did you confront her?
I confronted her, but you know, just like any other woman, they gonna lie and deny it.
And now he claims he saw messages on her phone discussing the baby and the possibility of someone else being the father. According to him, she was being deceptive, like any other woman, he says. Oof. But Ms. Sales claps back. Just because someone sends a message doesn't make it gospel. And let's not forget, genetics are funny. A child doesn't have to look like you to be yours.
So when do you finally find out Ms. Sales pregnant?
It's around like September.
There it is, September.
Yes, ma'am.
The last week.
Yes, ma'am.
Outlined in hot pink.
Yes, ma'am.
It's getting juicy now. Ms. Sales says she got pregnant in September and gave birth in May. Mr. Jackson insists he hadn't been physically involved with her from June through August. But hold on, she says they did reconnect in August. So which is it? Because if you did have one last rendezvous that month, your whole argument falls apart. Someone's lying and the clock is ticking.
Mr. Jackson.
I am D'Amico's oldest sister.
You are his oldest sister. All right, I'd like to know what you know about this situation.
D'Amico called me crying one night because he said Ashley admitted to him that she had slept with a light-skinned dude with dreads, and there's a possibility that Micaiah might not be his.
Enter Mr. Jackson's sister. She testifies that he once called her in tears, worried he wasn't the father. Her advice? Get a DNA test. But did he do it? Nope. He delayed, claiming Ms. Sales manipulated him emotionally, playing on his guilt to avoid the test. That raises the ultimate question. If you really want the truth, why avoid the one thing that proves it?
I cared about it a little bit, but not too much.
Oh, I'm confused. You ain't finna keep standing here talking about something.
listen,
It was
Your
about
Honor.
some sex.
Hold on.
Been in love since the day you met me. What are you saying?
Come on,
That's
Your
why you
Honor.
left your ex to come be with me, because you couldn't get enough of being around me. What are you talking about? Okay.
He says he cares about her, just not that much? That's a pretty confusing stance considering how present and involved he was, especially during her hospital visits. He swears she was never more than his side woman, but his actions don't exactly match that label. It's like he's living in two realities. Enough talk. Let the results do the talking now.
Mr. Jackson, you are the father.
Now I know who my baby daddy is.
Miss Sales, you don't have to do that. Miss Shands, you appear in court today because you are devastated that your first love and the person you lost your virginity to is now denying your 15-month-old son, Aiden. You say once you prove to the defendant that he is the father, you hope you two can finally be a family. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Shands is devastated. Her boyfriend denies fathering their 15-month-old baby, so she's turning to the court to confirm what her heart already believes, that he is the dad, and maybe even rekindle what they once had. But Mr. Hollis and his mother insist otherwise, claiming someone else played that role. A courtroom cliffhanger if ever there was one.
He has been in my baby life ever since my baby has been 3 months. He's my first love, my first kiss, my first everything. And today I just want to know the truth about, I want to prove to him that he is the father of my child.
Ms. Shands swears Mr. Hollis has been in the child's life since he was 3 months old, and that her feelings for him never really went away. But Mr. Hollis isn't having it. He calls her a pathological liar and accuses her of stepping out, first with his best friend and then with others. Excuse me? This kind of drama feels way too grown up for folks this young.
All right, this is exactly why you all need to be just out playing a sport, learning a craft.
Kids, seriously, there are better after-school activities, sports maybe, anything but what she did. Going unguarded and getting intimate with her boyfriend's best friend, out of revenge, repeatedly. Thankfully, she didn't juggle them both at once, but still, that's a betrayal with a capital B, young love gone dangerously wild.
And one day I went to the clinic and I found out I was 5 months pregnant.
5 months?
5 months.
So you didn't even know enough about your body to know you were pregnant. So you find out you're 5 months pregnant. what happens? Who do you tell?
Boom! She found out she was expecting 5 months in. 5! That alone says she wasn't exactly clued into reproductive health while being physically involved with more than one guy in her circle. She gave the other guy a heads up and he was oddly calm about it. Meanwhile, she was sneaking back to Mr. Hollis. Sharing more than just feelings with both? That's a lot of emotional luggage for one teen.
And he ended up finding out on the street. But I end up telling him. And I guess he ended up telling his mom as well. And I was telling them that it's a possibility that it can be him or the friend. I never told the friend that it can be a possibility with another guy. I only told his mother that it can be a possibility with another guy. I never
why'd
told
you
the
make
other
that
guy.
choice?
It gets hotter. Mr. Hollis didn't find out about the baby through her. He heard it on the street. She told his mom the baby could be his, or the other guy's. But deep down, she wasn't as uncertain about the other man's chances. The other guy even stood by her side during labor. Still, Ms. Hollis, Mr. Hollis's mom, showed up too. Because hey, her son might be the dad. This case is a teenage version of The Maury Show.
So, Miss Shands, if the other guy was at the birth, why are you now saying Mr. Hollis is the baby's father?
Because like my baby had more futures than him than the other guy.
Yes, he did.
He looked nothing like the other guy at all.
So, if the other guy was there throughout the pregnancy, why is Mr. Hollis still in the conversation? Because when the baby arrived, those eyes, that nose, apparently all screamed Hollis. She put 2 and 2 together and made a guess. As for official paperwork, none. They were both too young to sign anything, let alone a birth certificate.
He ain't no beef with me no more. Like, I let the whole thing go. Like, the whole thing. But it was a bunch of mess.
I can't tell you write songs about it.
What you mean?
He made a song, Your Honor, and it specifically says, about a year ago, I fell in love with a thought. That's what it said.
Mr. Hollis says he's over it. All water under the bridge. Really? Then explain those lyrics in the song you dropped. About a year ago, I fell in love with a thought. Oof. And wait, there's another track? Did he turn this whole drama into a mixtape? These kids are rewriting the script for modern teenage love and heartbreak.
I'm sitting here, I feel like you two need to be going to detention, not to paternity court. I mean, just listening to the story, the grammar alone.
Even the judge is exhausted. These two shouldn't even be in paternity court. They're too young to be navigating relationships this complicated, let alone raising a child. Their language is shaky, their decisions even shakier. Then Ms. Hollis, the grandma-to-be, steps in again, sharing her genuine fear that this tension between the boys could spiral into violence, and worse, that she might lose her son to it.
So you have a real bond with this baby. Miss Shands, has this other guy developed a relationship with Aiden as well?
Not as really. Like, when Aiden see Amir, they have a little thing like at each other, like they do it, like every time he see him, like he can get on FaceTime with Amir, he be like, ah!
And yet, through all this, there's something deeper, a connection between Mr. Hollis and the baby that feels real. Even Ms. Hollis seems to have fallen for this little guy. She's practically glowing with grandma pride. And honestly, who could resist that adorable smile? But all feelings aside, it's time to let the results speak.
Mr. Hollis, you are not the father. I see tears in your eyes, Ms. Shands, because I know how desperately you wanted Mr. Hollis to be Aiden's biological father.